Good afternoon. This is the Townsend Finance Committee meeting, and we'll call the meeting to order at 4 p.m. And with that, being remote, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Carolyn Mazik is here.
Andrea Wood here.
Sam Grant here.
Okay, thank you. And Don Hayes here. Mark Hussey had sent me an email. He had an appointment that he won't be able to make tonight's meeting. So that would be all. This meeting is being recorded and played live on Channel 9. And if this point, additions or deletions, at this point, in the work session, I have reserved fund transfer request. We had none presented, so we'll delete that from the meeting. The omnibus budget review is on the schedule, item 2. Again, that I have not received updates to that, so there's nothing additional to review. I will maybe leave it leave it on and have the discussion about how we address that going forward. Pretty much the same for the rest of the meeting. But we'll continue with section 2.2, the omnibus budget review. And Sam, I'm going to apologize. Your email went to spam folder. I didn't see it till this morning when I was looking for something else. So I apologize for that.
Thank you.
The Saturday meeting was a in-person only meeting, and so I did not get you a copy of the budget before that meeting, and again, you couldn't dial in. So moving forward, what I'll do is get the copies early, and as I had done, deliver them around. Everybody's pretty close to the center, not too bad. But at this point, after the Saturday meeting, we had some discussions and lines that needed to be adjusted. We have not received those, so we don't have anything additional to review for the whole budget to review at this point. And I know without having seen the budget, there's probably no real questions to go along with it. But I will say we are approaching the end of budget season, and we haven't done a lot of digging in and approving of the budgets. And right now we have meetings scheduled for March 21st, April 4th, and April 18th. And I would like to go.
On the 28th.
Nothing on the 28th right now. My proposal will be that we schedule weekly on the Tuesdays at the same time between now and the week before annual town meeting, which would take us and fill 3 additional meetings: March 28th, April 11th, and April 25th.
So we are meeting on the 28th.
Well, if we can get a quorum. If not, we have to start maybe looking for different days.
Don,
Yeah,
you're saying March 28th, 4, 11, 18, and 25?
yeah, that would be it. That would take us to 5 consecutive weeks on Tuesdays.
That's excellent. I'm available.
Okay,
I'm fine
Otherwise,
with it
not.
too.
okay. Thank you, Andrea.
I am available.
Okay, and whether I am or not, I don't have my calendar, so I will make myself available, and we will schedule that and be able to, I think, take a reading with that going forward. And see that we're gonna get there. Thank you. I will, work with TCAM and get Zoom meetings for that. And as we're on meetings, I did not confirm with Eric yet, but my understanding was that the governor announced that the emergency is going to be extended and be contiguous with the federal, and the COVID emergency will go through May 11th of this year. So we should be able to stay in our meeting sequence with Zoom meetings and in person throughout this budget season. So I think that's good news to people.
Okay. So nothing's changed then with the new budget coming out right now?
No, nothing has changed with the new budget coming out. I did have a conversation with Eric, and we're going to set up regular meetings, and I will try to assist with the Excel file and getting work done and preparing what the budget would look like in that 5-year plan that we had talked about. So we will have this year's the FY24 budget, with then being able to look forward as we get to the end of the meetings, look at the 5-year plan and see what it looks like. So this will be our start of trying to get to a forward-looking budget, so that we go beyond just going fiscal year to fiscal year and trying to balance the budget for May.
Speaking of that,
Yeah.
the budget as presented is how close to a balanced budget?
My understanding, it was balanced. It was close to balanced at the time. The item that was adjusted and used, pretty much the remainder of the money, was in the highway department lot section, where we had the pavement line. It was set to 233,000 in that budget. And so that was the line. It's trying to comply with the warrant article that said, if there's money, we'll fund it. And so that was the bulk of it. And there was one other that the school budget was only put in at a 2.1% increase, I believe, not at the what we believe is going to be the assessed value. So it's close to a balanced budget minus what the final assessment from the school is going to be.
And that's why we're going to have why the special town meeting article is for an override.
Yes. Yep.
So if the override fails, I know it's going to be on the election ballot and it will be on town meeting.
Yeah.
And then if it fails, we can always have another at one place or the other, or even both have, again, a special town meeting and an annual town meeting. I mean, another election. But if it continues to fail, we will have an imbalanced budget. What do we do then? I think we should think in terms of at least what is going to have to be cut to the bones to meet the school budget, or what the schools are going to do in order to make us have a balanced budget. I just having that hang out there and go along with set figures. It's like doing a budget without a pencil or a pen or a computer. You just kind of put down some figures and hope that'll go.
Yeah. Yeah, understood. It's kind of like, so, and again, I'm sitting down with Eric on Friday, so we can throw some of those scenarios in this year's budget, do some columns, concentrate on this year's budget, and put in what something that may be more realistic, for that number, and then we can look at, what happens if an override does not happen, and where cuts would need to occur to try to hit that.
Can I ask you one other thing that I would appreciate you addressed with him?
Mm-hmm.
They want to hire a person, so we have a full-time person in the accountant's office who has accounting skills, but is not a municipal accountant.
Yeah.
And that's just fine. And that person will be managed by Melanson and Heath.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it seems to me with a new charge of duties here, that there should be some alteration in the contract. I'd like to know what the alteration in the contract would be.
Yeah.
I would hope it would be less.
Right now, the number that was discussed, that was in the budget, I'm just gonna put, I believe was $40,000 for Melanson's part of it, and $50,000 for the person that would be in the office,
90,000 in total?
plus it's a 30-hour position, so that would also
Be
include,
benefits, yes.
yep, yeah, kind of, so as we talk,
Well, how much time does the Melanson, person will be spending with the, accountant? You know?
I don't,
I mean, if
No,
we're gonna
it's
spend
gonna be-
$90,000,
right, and that's pretty much what we're
well, that's what the.
paying now, yeah. It's kind of like, but the difference is,
The person here.
we'd have a person here full-time, and you can, with training and passing the municipal accounting tests,
Can we eliminate Melanson? Oh,
that's the goal,
That's the goal.
over time to eliminate it. So we would have to have that position in place, the person in place, and look in that 5-year plan, when can we cut 40,000 from the budget, on the ongoing basis. So, and again, if we don't fill the position and we don't have a full-time person here, it's kind of the plan sort of, the plan needs a little more definition.
One, we have to hope that the person that's hired
Mhm.
is I don't know how to say this, but has already gained some of those skills. You know,
Yeah.
knows, can answer kind of questions, doesn't need training from start to finish, maybe just midway to finish.
Right. Yep. Yep. I'm just taking a look at the town website now, just because the job I did see, it's called Assistant Town Accountant. And it says, bachelor's or associate's degree, 2 years of experience in municipal accounting. So, the qualifications is asking for a degree and at least 2 years of, accounting experience in municipal.
And that's very nice, but we have these descriptions all the time, and the last few people that have been hired by the selectmen have not met the criteria.
Yeah.
The hiring,
Yeah, unfortunately, we're not
you're
the
the
hiring
hiring
bodies,
force,
but we can bring our concern forward, and see if they have anything to address. And I know on the Saturday, I did bring up my concern of the preparation of the, accounting documents and reports that are required for the audit, which was, one of the overages that we had this year in the accounting department. So as we change what what our contract is, we gotta make sure that we don't have anything that falls in the cracks and it's gonna cause us um, extra cost as we go forward to hit all of our, all the requirements needed across the board with accounting, as I said, with the auditing reports.
Perhaps as we go on reviewing the budget, we could view the departments as, I mean, anything would be devastating. I understand people are only asking for what they feel they really need and really do need. But
Mhm.
what might be able
What-
to be cut?
Yep, yep, I sort of, like, I have some of those things highlighted it in my brain, ready to look at and discuss, but I hadn't considered it in relation to a 2.5 override.
Mm.
And again, for instance, is, the settlement wages is coming down by $152,000, yet the budget is only coming down for 50, so where's that other 100,000 go? It's kind of like, and I understand we did certain things with it and trying, but maybe the thing is, it, in other locations, they call them default budgets, and it's kind of like, and so maybe that's the thing is we have extra columns and say, if we have a default budget, what can come out of here? And we have a column in there that indicates what those minuses will be.
If we go through town meeting and have, because say the override is still not satisfied,
Yeah.
we go through with and end up with an out of balance budget. How long are we allowed by law to function with that, but with an unbalanced budget? I thought you had to have one at the end of town meeting. That's how naive I am.
I think we had this discussion last year, and I don't know the exact, I believe it was Ross, had spoken to that we can come out of town meeting without the fully funded budget, because there's enough money on that line. And it was, again, the schools, that were causing us to have that bit of grief last year, before they cut. But that was a $200,000 cut they did at the end. But Ross, my understanding and my recollection was we can go with a line that covers up to, if we were $200,000 short, we could do a line, and then later on in the year come back and try to appropriate and raise that 200,000 on that line. So it would be a partially funded line, not a completely funded line for the year coming out of the budget.
Well, then that would mean that we would undoubtedly then, if we have to address it, we do have to address it, but address it later in the year, it would be done with free cash.
Right, and free cash seems to be getting certified in the December, January timeframe.
Only because we're desperately in need of it every time for the last few years.
Yeah, so we try to push it through. So, and again, I think we count on a good 50% of our free cash to pay the deficit budget on snow removal.
Mm-hmm.
Which the terrible thing is then the following year, of course, say you have to get an extra $100,000, and it isn't free cash, and it funds and balances a budget. The next year you don't have that money. So not only are you behind that $100,000, you're behind whatever raises and increases are deemed necessary through the year. It's a terrible thing to do to yourself. We'll end up in bankruptcy this way. Like,
Yep, 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 it definitely is something we need to consider and watch. It's kind of like, and manage that override, and if we don't get the override, how do we support it? You know, how do we support the schools that are going to be 65% of your budget and try to run the town on 40 or 35% of the money that's raised?
the schools, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, I think,
Mhm.
it became mandatory for them to have free cash audited.
Yeah,
Do you happen to know how that audit went? And the last time the school in general, their general funds and everything were audited?
they are on an annual audit also, like our budget is.
Okay.
Don't know about free cash. I would have to go back and read up again on their auditors. I know when we were looking at auditors, we stayed away from the auditors that they have, just so that the town and the school were not using the same audit company.
I think that's a good idea.
Yep, it's kind of, you know, it has that separate, it gives us that separation that, you've got two different entities watching the two different, budgets within the town. And again, I know the regional school budget is not within town, but it is our school budget. And our piece of it. So we have lots of details and discussion to come on as we move forward, once we see the numbers and the budget. But I think the discussions we're having are good, and we need to continue them as we do see the budget in front of us.
What is the line now that there was 800,000, what is it now?
What- Sorry, I'm looking up the, so it was written in the budget for the Saturday review. It was written in at 315.
Oh,
So that would be about $500,000 short. Just in,
Oh,
so,
it's a half million short, is that divided by the three towns?
no, that's our assessment.
That's our assessment.
If it's,
So it was 800,000, now it's 500,000.
well, the assessment is, that they were talking about is 800,000, and in the budget, we put 315.
Oh,
So in this budget, to bring us to that balanced number that we had, is the difference would be the, and again, I have to, is the 800,000 for the whole district, or was it our assessment? I think, yeah, so we have to see what our assessment is for them. We kind of,
in the dark now.
yeah, kind of like power just went out at town hall, kidding. And, we haven't moved enough for them. So we need to watch that section of the budget and maybe try to prepare. And again, one of the things that the superintendent had stated that gives me concern is that next year they're going to have negotiations with part of their bargaining unit. So that to me says people are going to be negotiating and trying to get more money, more wages, more benefits. And I understand that they're, but if we're looking at 5-year, we need to have that discussion and say, where are they going to be and what are their, you know, it's kind of like, we are limited pretty much by Prop 2.5. We get 2.5% more revenue. A checker maybe the pay your fair share will come in fiscal year 2025. It's not in fiscal year 2024 numbers for the school, but that's a combination of schools and roads. for that budget, that amendment that went in and passed last year. So again, some, future pieces that we don't know what kind of impact they'll have yet. A couple of the items, the negotiations and potential future revenue from that piece of legislation that, or the article that passed on in November. So, okay. And again, I know there's not necessarily a lot of detail out there. Sam and Andrew, do you want copies of the budget, the budget that we do have that was reviewed on the Saturday? It's going to be replaced after the updates are made. I don't know if you're looking for historical or
I'd rather
anything.
see it after it's updated.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll wait too.
okay, sounds good. That's kind of
Easy.
Okay, any other questions about path forward, what we're looking at on the omnibus or anything?
No,
Okay,
unfortunately, yes.
yeah, again, no votes to be taken at this point, so we move forward to the item 3, which is the revenue projection. We have seen the preliminary cherry sheet numbers, and they're looking to be a little larger than last year by about, I think it was an additional 200,000 over the 20%. It's in the 1.9 or about $2 million, closing in on 1.95 million, I think it was. So we're, the state's cherry sheets are out. I haven't seen the estimates from the tax collector yet, and see what those numbers are. But as we move forward with what the budget's going to be, we need to formalize on the revenue projections too, and see what the total revenues will be in comparison. I know the capital budget has been looked at and approved. It's gonna, but Mark is our rep on that board. So, again, to be reviewed, coming up is the budget review and the long-term debt and what projects are being approved for capital planning purposes. I was going to say that's not much of an update, but it's kind of like any questions, anything you want to see on revenue projections or capital planning. Just get the total list of the capital plan and look forward and see. I believe ambulance or fire truck, they were talking about putting it on and approving it, and it's a 3-year wait period for delivery. So as much as it would be approved by capital plan, it won't hit the budget until 3 years out at this point. So,
But won't we have to raise money for every year
we'll
to
have
make
to,
up the final amount?
Well, yeah, capital plan for ambulance and fire.
Yeah, I was going to say the ambulance and fire is going to try to look at ambulance receipts to fund.
They've been very good about that in the past.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, so those, and just making my notes, we have to see what the revolving fund is going to be for this year too. It falls under the revenue. I guess, for revenue projection, what we transfer from revolving fund.
Well, since most of the, I don't, this is the way everybody is, I guess.
Mhm.
But capital planning is funded primarily from free cash because they're one-time purchases.
Mhm.
But more and more ours aren't they're one-time purchases, but they're purchased that one time over 3, 5, whatever years.
Yeah.
And I think if we've been getting good free cash, but
Mhm.
maybe we should think about um, possibly having to take them in on with tax dollars to if free cash drops out, we won't be. It would be a crying shame to fund, say, something for 3 years and have to let it go after 2 because we can't afford to make the third payment.
Right. Yeah, and yeah, there's, um, yeah, it's kind of neat, that whole free cash piece. If free cash is leftover money from your budget. If we get better at budgeting and spending to the budget, you're not gonna have free cash to be able to support that. So we do have to get to that point where it's coming out of it as best we can, bring it out of operating budget so that it's there and can be covered by the operating budget and not hoping that we have free cash to pay everything
Yep,
loose.
thank you.
Yep, yep, that's kind of, again, it's gets us, how do we transition from our short-term spending and purchasing to the long-term look and view of it, kind of.
You know something else maybe it's just a secret I don't know. I may be so far out of touch, I just don't know what's going on. However, every year the budget letter goes out and says um, no new hires, and every year we have new hires. Um, Maybe somebody should ask the department heads what their final goal for personnel is. Particularly, I think the library, because they've come up this year with that assistant director. Not saying it's needed or not, I don't know, but it does open another position for a children's librarian. So there we will end up with next year hiring that position. I think we have to come to grips with the amount of personnel that is needed. The department seemed to be growing like crazy.
Yeah.
But
No,
the population is diminishing.
it is, it's kind of like, but just back to the library for a minute, the, I did meet with, Stacy and one of the members of the board of trustees.
Mhm.
The idea of what you're doing is creating a new position that encompasses the children's librarian position. So the new position is assistant library director, children's library, and technology coordinator. So it's taking a position, giving it more responsibilities, but the increase in their budget for hours is 0.1 FTE. So they're adding 4 hours a week to their budget, so that in the fall they can open up an additional night and have the hours of coverage. And then for their library techs, they added one from 57 hours to 58 hours a week. So if we annualize it, It's 204 or 208 hours, for the one person so that they can open an additional night. And then there's 52 hours, for library techs to do the additional work, required around the library. So at this point, they're not adding a position, they've added, they've added hours, and it's a total of five, when we look at it, it's 5 hours a week to their total payroll, which takes them from 6.2 FTE to 6.3 FTE.
Oh, I'm glad you cleared that up. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's-
not that I think that it's still an increase, but I like the greater understanding of the position. Thank you.
No, I think, and to be honest with you, that's one of the things that I think as we go through this budget that we do want to look at is all of those items. What were the full-time equivalents in FY 23 and what are the equivalents in FY 24? So that we can start seeing department by department where they are. Some of the things that have gone into this budget seem to be good for the town. We're putting some training dollars into the budget to train replacement. People are getting near retirement, and so we need to train up the assistants and the associates in the departments to be able to step in and replace and become department head.
And we have to make it enough that they can step up and stay in and just not get the training and go somewhere else where they can make more.
Yep, exactly. It's kind of like, so they, it's seeing that transition plan and the legacy planning of, how does the town continue to develop its employees, give them a path that they can see successful and continue in more, continue and to work toward a higher paying position and stay with the town. So that we show the value to the employees by doing the training and stepping them up. So all good pieces, I think. And okay, just going to continue on. I still have the line for ClickGov budget software training. We obviously didn't use ClearGov this time, and so the conversation with Eric has gone. He's going to see if we can take this money and push it out so that next year we actually start. It's in place and we start using it. So there's nothing for this budget season that we're going to use with the ClearGov, but we still have our login account and we still have those training modules if we want to go through them, or brush up again on them before next year, and when we really start using it. And I just noticed I had that in two places on the agenda, so we'll fit it. So, but if you do log in and do the training and questions, we'll keep it on the agenda just so that if there's questions, we can discuss it and it stays an active item for it. The item 5, section 2, item 5, the schedule for the annual town meeting and the special town meeting. I had put everything in here. We had the December special town meeting that we didn't get the quorum on, so it was postponed to January, where we had the supplemental plus the December. Again, no quorum was achieved, so there are warrant articles from those two that we hadn't addressed and continue on. The discussion was those are going to be called to order and dissolved, and so when we get to May, I think it's May 2nd, the annual town meeting.
Yep.
So on May 2nd, we will just have the annual town meeting and the special town meeting within the annual. So all the articles will be addressed. The work that we had done for recommendations, from the FinCom we can save it and use it if appropriate, if they're going to be on annual town meeting warrant articles or special town meeting articles. So that's my plan for those. And again, as we talk and we have the next 5 consecutive weeks, we will be spending some time reviewing the warrant articles and making our recommendations for supporting or not on those articles. Okay, so I've done a lot of talking. I think there has been some back and forth, but any other questions in general? Do we think we're doing okay especially by having the extra meetings to start reviewing the budget and keeping up with the changes? The warrant articles should be closed soon, I believe, and determined by the Board of Selectmen. I think they're meeting on that next Tuesday, so we'll start getting things a little more formalized for the budget warrant articles and see where we're moving forward. And so just a little round table. Sam, any questions, anything you want to?
Not here at this point in time.
Yeah.
Thank you for asking.
When you see the budget? Andrea, anything
No,
for?
we already talked about most of the things that are concerning me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, and then Geraldine?
100%.
Okay. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn at 4:43.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Okay, and roll call vote, please.
Gerald Mazeikis, yes.
Andrea Wood, yes.
Sam Grant, yes.
Don Hayes, yes. With that, it's unanimous, and we stand adjourned.